Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We're joined by Jim Boyd, Director of Strategic Growth for Optimist International. From a 35-year career in broadcast journalism to helping build thriving communities around the world, Jim shares the story behind the century-old service organization that's still making an impact.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
You're now listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Brunell.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
Karolyn Grimes has made a lifelong commitment that is based on the profound belief that everyone deserves to experience their own wonderful life. Her husband, Dr. Brunell, has long since joined her on this mission, bringing his own unique passion and insight. Together, their dedication reflects a deep desire to inspire others to embrace the profound truth that life is truly wonderful when we recognize and cherish the love and connections that are all around us. Join Karolyn and Chris to witness how one individual's life can inspire countless others, revealing the transformative power of one person who is determined to do good. As you connect with our inspiring guests, you'll realize that your own journey is also about self-realization, helping others, and earning your wings. Just like today's guest, you too have a unique potential to inspire and elevate those around you. Stay tuned. Another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up is about to begin.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu. All Grown Up.
Today, we're excited to speak with Jim Boyd, who brings stories of service, resilience, and improvement. We'll learn about the history and mission of the Optimists, explore the global projects shaping young lives, and discover how a simple creed continues to guide generations toward hope and self-improvement. Let's jump in.
We are happy to welcome our guest, and his name is Jim Boyd. He's the Director of Strategic Growth for Optimist International. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in your podcast. As was mentioned, I'm the Director of Strategic Growth for Optimist International, have been there since about 2017, which was immediately after completing a 35-year career as a broadcast journalist, completely in radio. I did radio news for 35 years. At a couple of radio stations in Iowa, which is where I live. 20 years in Cedar Rapids, 15 years in Des Moines. At the same time, I had been a volunteer member of Optimist International since the mid-1990s. Just so happened when I got tired of radio, there was a position open at Optimist International, and for lack of a better way of describing it, the timing couldn't have been better. And I now work to try to help grow our organization, both with regular club membership as well as new club development, both domestically and globally.
Well, we'd love to hear more about the history of Optimist International and its current makeup after over 100 years of community service. That's something, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
Wow.
The first Optimist Club, I believe it was 1911, was formed in Buffalo, New York. A group of businessmen came together because they saw a need to address the issue of delinquency in boys. So they formed an Optimist Club to do that. But in addition to working to address that issue, an Optimist Club, and I will tell you that there are striking similarities between it and a Kiwanis Club, an Alliance Club, and a Rotary Club. They also were formed at that time to help with networking among business people and for socialization. Most clubs at that time met weekly to get together to, network and to address issues affecting them in their community. From the Optimist standpoint, it wasn't until 1919 that we actually formed the organization at our first convention in Louisville, Kentucky, because there had been enough growth of Optimist clubs around the United States to actually warrant forming a international organization. Organizations such as the Optimists had to deal with a societal shift that happened probably about 30 years ago. And when I say that, I mention that clubs were formed for service work, networking, and socializing. Well, it's about 30 years ago that the cell phone came into great play, and that means a lot of people chose to use it as opposed to a service organization to socialize and network. So the organization and organizations had to try to adapt to that because what was working decades earlier really wasn't, starting in the late 1990s and continuing into this century. So we've had to try and reinvent ourselves in order to remain relevant and still do service work in our communities.
Is it true, Jim, that when you applied for the position of the Optimist International, that they told you to write your job description? And how did that work for you?
Actually, that was kind of funny because I was nearing the end of my broadcast career. My wife happened to be on the Optimist International Board of Directors. She got notified one time that the membership director was going to be leaving. So there was going to be an opening. So I contacted that evening the executive director, who I had been friends with for a number of years, just through my volunteer work. And I basically said I had an opening. And he, without trying to sound too proud, he liked me. He liked the work that I had done at a volunteer level, especially when it came to growth. And after the conversation, he said to me, well, Jim, it's Friday night. Tell you what, over the weekend, write your job description and we'll see what happens on Monday. My wife and I actually did put down what we would like to see me do in the growth arena for Optimist International. And of course, he fine-tuned it and that sort of thing. But at the same time, when you're applying for a position and somebody tells you to write your job description, that bodes well for getting the position. There's kind of like a twofold purpose for an Optimist Club. One is obviously to do projects in the community, and I can give you some examples. The other is more personal. And when I say that, by becoming an optimist, and that's with a big O, not a little o, but big, you afford yourself an opportunity to become a better person, both personally and professionally. The latter being because you're getting together with like-minded people. It's hard not to be optimistic when you surround yourself with people who are optimistic. It kind of grows on you or wears on you. And by being part of a organization such as this, you learn some skills along the way. Like, I had never been a president of anything until I was a president of an Optimist Club. And of course, you're basically learning under fire. Well, that didn't work. I'm never going to do that again. That worked wonderful. Somebody write that down. So you learn through your experience. And by that, you become a better person. And you can also probably translate some of those skills into the workplace if you still happen to be in the workforce. But as I mentioned at the outset, Optimist Clubs do projects that can help young people. These can be fun. These can be educational. I'll give you one example of each. Educationally, we have a scholarship competition called the Optimist Oratorical Competition. It is scholarship-based, and in each of the 43 districts of Optimist International, there's a competition every spring. The winner gets a $2,500 scholarship. But several years ago, we expanded that to be global. So once you get past the local level, you go to a regional competition, you go to a district competition, and then you go to the international competition. So that student who may have won the local competition and $2,500, if they went all the way, their scholarship monies would be $22,500, and that's awarded on a yearly basis. Plus, there are obviously second and third place awards as well. From the standpoint of fun, and I'll use as an example something my club does. Every year, we contact our local middle school because it has an English learners program or English as a second language program for students. We take those students out to a local park where they get a horse-drawn wagon ride. They make s'mores over an open fire. Because of the time of year, they will probably decorate pumpkins or have some other sort of craft. And we play a game of kickball. Now, when you think about that, That seems all well and good. But remember, these young people are from a different country. So none of those activities are part of their culture. This represents then, for them, a cultural enrichment experience. Plus, it's a day out in the fall in Iowa. The leaves have turned, and that kind of thing. It's one of those crisp autumn days that, most chambers of commerce would like to have a postcard of so they could market their community. But that just gives you an example. And the key is developing projects in a community that meet the needs or the unmet needs in that community. Because, for example, I'm in a suburb of Des Moines, Iowa. What may be needed here may not be needed in Billings, Montana. So a lot of the projects that Optimists do reflect needs in the local community.
Jim, can you share the Optimist Creed and its importance for over 100 years?
Yes, the Optimist Creed was developed by a gentleman in California, and he was one of those people that was obviously wrote optimistically. Christian D. Larson is his name. And anybody listening to this after the program can Google the Optimist Creed, and there are a myriad of examples that show up. But a couple of members of the Optimist organization in California saw this, let the people at headquarters know about this, and so they started talking with Mr. Larson. Could we use this? And he said, sure. I'm sure it was a little more complicated than that. And it has been known now as the Optimist Creed ever since then. And I can give you some of the tenets. I don't know if you want to go through all 10, but this gives you an idea of where the organization stands and how the creed illustrates what we try to perceive or tell all the people who join us, and even those who do not. For example, promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. Usually I try to do that on a daily basis, and oftentimes within 10 to 15 minutes out of bed, I probably have to try again tomorrow. But again, all of this is kind of a standard to reach for. And if you do it enough, some of it actually happens. To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. Try to find that in this day and age on social media, to make all of your friends feel that there is something in them. Yeah, we probably have friends that go, oh no, not this person again. Everybody has some redeeming values. And as an optimist, you look to find those and compliment that person on them.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at ZuzuNetwork.com and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at ZuzuNetwork.com/shop.
Join Zuzu's network today at ZuzuNetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at ZuzuNetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
Even if they, for example, don't understand something, but they're willing to learn, or they want some help in learning something, that applies to that tenet of the creed that I just mentioned. Another tenet, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. I had a gentleman just a few weeks ago. I was at a recruiting table at an event. He didn't stop, but all he said was, half full? Optimists, how do they look at the glass? Half full or half empty? And I said, yes, half full. He said, just testing. Again, another means of raising yourself above the noise that we have in society now and just trying to do better. Here's one that is difficult for, I think, a lot of people, and sometimes even myself, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Most people want to succeed, and sometimes they don't want the other person to do it because, my goodness, that could be the competition. Not necessarily with this tenet of the creed. I'm happy that somebody else was able to do something, and if I didn't get it done, they at least did. So bravo. Here's one that's also challenging: to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. I learned a long time ago in my, if I can use the phrase, optimist career, that I can't change what happened yesterday. Heck, I can't change what happened an hour ago, but I can use that those experiences hopefully benefit myself and benefit others going forward. So, yeah, some people say, well, couldn't we learn from the mistakes of the past? Yes, you can. But you also need to forget them, because I've run into people sometimes that are still punching themselves for something they did 2 decades ago. You got to move on. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. That's another one of those challenging ones when we run into somebody who we would not consider to be a close friend, not necessarily an adversary, but someone who goes, okay, fine, but you don't hang out with them. Still, be cheerful with them. Give them a smile, even though it sometimes might be difficult. You give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Wouldn't that be nice? I don't think any explanation is needed there. Wouldn't that just be nice? And finally, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. This is why I tell people when I'm out recruiting members and they're kind of on the fence, they like what we do, but they're not certain. I often tell them to take a copy of this creed and read it on a daily basis for 30 days. And I will almost guarantee you that your life will be better a month from now if you do that, and if you do it honestly and consistently, because we're feeding positive thoughts and positive actions as opposed to dealing with negative stuff all the time. We kind of have to get better. And that basically is the Optimist Creed. I will tell you that not quite double digits with regard to new members join our organization simply because of the creed. They don't have a clue what we do, but they see those words and say, oh, I got to get a piece of this action.
Well, along with the well-known service organizations with international connections like Rotary or Kiwanis and Lions Club, what makes Optimist International different?
We come from the same model that was created in the 19-teens and 1920s. Each organization kind of has its niche, if it will. Right now, the Optimists are working with childhood health and wellness. For a number of years, we had something called the Childhood Cancer Campaign, where we either raised money to help with research to eliminate childhood cancer, and for a while funded a research chair at Johns Hopkins University, or we do projects in our community to help children affected by cancer, their families, or their siblings. It can vary from club to club, and that's the neat thing that is important to remember, that each club is autonomous. We don't give them a list of things to do and say, go do. They go out and figure out what is needed in their community, and then they go out and do. And I would still say, if I can go back to what we just talked about, one of the things that makes us very, very unique is that creed. Because to my knowledge, there isn't something like that in the other organizations. Now, if somebody listening to this says, oh, Jim, you're wrong, we have this. In advance, I stand corrected.
Where is your most significant concentration of clubs? And do you know how many children and volunteers are involved?
We probably affect over the course of a year about 6 million people. You've got Optimist clubs here in the United States. You have Optimist clubs in Canada. You have Optimist clubs in the Caribbean nations. The first one formed there in 1980 in Kingston, Jamaica. And when I came on staff, it was decided that, Jim, take another shot at international development, because it had been tried in the past outside the Caribbean and Canada. But the issue at those times was technology. Technology wasn't good enough so I could do a WhatsApp chat with somebody in Asia, and the chat is clear as a bell. You couldn't do that really until about 2015, 2016. Timing was right to try that again. And believe it or not, on New Year's Day 2017, I had an email from a university professor from Kathmandu, Nepal. He researched the Lions, the Optimists, the Kiwanis, and the Rotary, and said, I think Optimists fit what I'm trying to do. Well, all I did was start the conversation. I answered the email. And as turns out, 3.5 months later, the Optimist Club of Kathmandu was formed. And of course, we've lost a few clubs in the last 6 years, but we organized another club. There are now 8 in the capital of that country, and I'm guessing about 4 dozen more throughout Nepal. Those people are connected. They have friends in India. They have friends in Bangladesh. They have friends in Thailand. So as they continue to talk about the Optimists and why they think it's very good, their friends may want, if I can use the phrase, a piece of the action, and formed another club in another location. We're a small organization. Out of the 4 that I continually mention, We're the smallest, which means you don't necessarily have the financial resources the others do. So you have to come up with innovative ways to make connections without having to, spend $5,000 on a plane ticket to go halfway around the world. That's kind of what we do. And that's why I was very happy to participate in this podcast, because people listening may say, I'm wondering how I can do this in my neighborhood or in my community.
So, what is the oratorical program and how does it prepare young adults to become proficient in public speaking?
It's a 4 or 5 minute speech on a given topic. If you want to boil it down, it helps high school students learn the art of public speaking. Because as you probably are well aware, if you're a good public speaker, you are leaps and bounds ahead of others who are not, because you can make a presentation before a group of people. You can feel comfortable in front of a group of people, or after years and years of experience, you can do an hour-long podcast.
Your Optimist clubs support local sporting programs in their communities. Will you share about your Optimist International Junior Golf program, which has several tournaments and is recognized as a premier competition for young golfers around the world? How do you qualify for such an international program?
Optimist International, as I said earlier, is divided into 43 districts, and each district holds a qualifying event. There are 3 age groups, 12 to 14, 15 and 16, and then 17 and 18. Top 2 qualifiers in each play in the international tournament, which is held in July at Trump National Doral, just outside of Miami. This past year, I was fortunate enough to work at the tournament. Heck, I like being on a golf course. I used to play a lot. But you get to see the tremendous athletic abilities of some of these people. And we had represented at one point in time, I think, 28 countries who came to play in what is known in the junior golf circuit as the Optimist. They came from South America. They came from Asia. They came from Central America. Of course, there's representation from Canada and all 50 states. And it is one of the most popular programs out there because it's been going on the late 1960s, originally developed out in California by a group of optimists there, and then moved over to Florida a couple of decades later. I mean, you name 5 or 6 top professional golfers, the chances are pretty good they all played in the Optimist when they were of the age that you could do that.
So your website has a great video that captures the essence of your program and asks, in one word, what does optimist mean to you? Leaders worldwide comment on services, family, optimism, etc. What describes optimist to you and why?
Improvement. Over the last 30 years, slowly but surely, and yes, there is more work to do still, I'm back on the right path, getting better. And I truly believe it's because of my association with like-minded people, with getting the confidence to do what I do now, and that is to develop new chapters and to convince people that they need to get in the Optimist game, that's with a big O, that I'm a better person because of all of that.
You've traveled the world for Optimist International. What is your role in the new chapter development?
We had a new club come in today. I've got one coming in tonight in Indiana. It's not that I do all of this. I oversee the development. We have other optimists who aren't paid, who go out and do this because they believe in the mission of the organization and the values of the organization. But yeah, if somebody said, Jim, can you come down and help for a couple of days? Sure. I was just in the southeastern part of Iowa this week working on a project. I could be in western Missouri in another couple of weeks to do that. I go to conferences and teach people how to do this. And I only do it because I've had 21 years experience doing this. So you do learn from things. And if you learn from the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, you can get good at this.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Have you heard? Affordable healthcare is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now, the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little to no cost to you. Don't gamble your health. Call Health Care for All. 70% of callers qualify for a zero-cost healthcare coverage. See if you are one of them. Call now. Our agents are standing by to help you get the health insurance plan you and your family needs and deserves. If you're uninsured or struggling to afford your current health insurance, help is just a phone call away. This is not Medicaid or Medicare. This is the marketplace with the largest selection of healthcare plans from the Affordable Care Act. To find a plan that's right for you, call 800-788-2406. That's 800-788-2406.
A careless driver can change your life in an instant. Do you know what to do or who to call? If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident and don't have an attorney, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free consultation. We can answer all of your questions and estimate the potential value of your case. Call Auto Accident Help Desk and connect with an expert personal injury attorney.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Don't worry how to handle your medical bills, lost wages, and pain. We will get you the money you deserve.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
The consultation is free, and you don't pay any legal fees unless we win or settle your case. Make the smart call if you've been injured in an auto accident. Call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free legal consultation.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Auto Accident.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club.
This is Zuzu, all grown up.
How many service projects do your members manage annually?
It's good for the organization and it's good for the members to be active in something on a monthly basis. Now, that doesn't mean one of those all hands on deck projects that requires 25 people. You can easily do service with 2 people. For example, what a lot of organizations do, including the Optimist, when you find a needy family or 2 at the holiday season and you go out and buy presents. That's a 1 or 2 person project. Project like I told you about at the park, or our annual Easter egg hunt that happens the weekend before Easter for preschoolers, kindergartners, and first graders. That's an all hands on deck thing because you're in a field and you got all these kids all over the place, but still you're doing something every month and you're engaging the membership so that they feel that they too are giving back to their community in a very small way sometimes, or it takes a while in a very big way. So I like monthly. Now, that's just Jim. That's not necessarily the way it works in other clubs. Again, because they're autonomous.
So what type of scholarship programs do you have and how are they funded?
The oratorical is one. We also have an essay contest going back to the district level, 43 districts. They hold an essay contest, and obviously it's writing, give us a 700 to 800 word essay on this topic. Each of the districts can award a $2,500 scholarship, all of which are funded by the Optimist International. Let me go into the weeds just a little bit. An Optimist Club and Optimist International, under the IRS regulations, is a 501c4. The foundation is a 501c3. That means if you make a donation to the foundation, they can send you a letter saying you've done that, and then you can claim the donation as a deduction on your taxes if you want to do that. Optimist clubs cannot do that. because we are a C4. There is that distinction. So what optimists do is that is our charitable organization for us, for members. And we make contributions throughout the course of the year to the foundation. So it can, in turn, help fund scholarships and other activities at the club level.
What is the Optimist Leadership Academy?
The Optimist Leadership Academy is held every year just prior to the start of our international convention. That's the in-person part. They do meet monthly via Zoom. And this is for, I'm estimating here, about 24 people who've actually been nominated by other optimists to get specialized leadership training. In other words, they could be the future leaders of the organization. A lot of them are at the club, or maybe there's a leadership position at the district level that's not the district leader per se. And they go through these webinars on a monthly basis, and then they meet for a day-long class just before the start of our international convention.
So knowing the importance of continued opportunities for your members, will you share what a Junior Optimist International Summit is and the benefits to its participants?
We call it JOY, J-O-I. We form junior optimist clubs, and yeah, you can actually probably do one in an elementary school in that age group if you would like. We afford these young people opportunities for leadership development because each chapter has a president, a secretary, a treasurer, and a board of directors. They also develop their own projects with the help of a sponsoring adult club. If you have a junior optimist club in a school, it's likely sponsored by an optimist club in that community. So the young people can learn the ropes, but they also get the opportunity to, like I said, develop leadership skills. And if you're 17 years old and you can put on your resume that you're the president of your junior optimist club, that speaks volumes to an employer because it means that you can accept responsibility. Once a year, and this was the inaugural year, we had the Joy Summit, in which junior optimists from around the country came to St. Louis for a day of training, some fellowship, some fun. They also attended our World Oratorical Competition finals, and this was all held at St. Louis University. It's an opportunity for that age group to have instilled in them the idea of community service that I believe will hopefully keep them involved in that when they're my age. And my age is basically, I'm a card-carrying member of Medicare. So that shows you the gap between what we're dealing with here. But it's hoped that the junior optimists continue to serve their communities year after year after year after getting out of high school.
So where do you see the future of your Optimist International going?
We have to make ourselves relevant again because so much of society now has gotten away from the community service idea to more individualness. I liken it this way. If we don't get more people involved in community service, then there will be more needs in the community that go unmet. At the same time, by getting involved with the optimists, as I said earlier, you got the community service, but you've also got the personal improvement angle. And as I alluded to earlier, I really don't care what age you are. 99% of the population probably wants to get better at whatever it might be. We're creatures that want to be better at what we do. And I'm a firm believer, and I've kind of alluded to that several times over the past hour or so, that I continue to try to do that. And I continue to screw up while I do it. You know, I may have to, after this is all over, get in touch with our hosts privately and see if they want to become an optimist.
Well, I find this very interesting. In 1941, Frank Capra released what was probably his first Christmas movie called Meet John Doe. I don't know if you've seen it, but in an average Joe who is at first disillusioned with the state of mankind finds hope, optimism through the establishment of John Doe clubs, where average citizens help each other out and have a newfound sense of community spirit. It sounds a lot like the Optimist Club. Would you say that the Optimist Club is about empowering ordinary people to do extraordinary things and make their communities a better place to live? Is that what Optimist Club is essentially doing through all of its activities?
Short answer, yes. Longer answer is simply by getting involved in your local Optimist chapter. or by developing a new Optimist chapter. I'm a firm believer that you will afford yourself opportunities to grow and to serve that weren't there beforehand. Now, granted, there's nothing that says that on an individual basis, you can't go to some other organization in town and volunteer, because that's essentially what you're doing with the Optimist. You're getting involved to volunteer some of your time. But I go back to that second component, that by doing so, by becoming an Optimist, capital O, you can make strides for personal and professional improvement.
So, if any of our listeners would like to contact you to learn more about what you do, how can they volunteer, become a member, or even sponsor a club where they are?
Okay, there are a couple of ways. My personal email, and I have no problem giving it out, jim.boyd, jim.boyd @optimist.org. If you don't want to get too personal, newclub@optimist.org or membership@optimist.org. And I say both of those last two because the way it is structured, those two emails also come to my email. So I'll see it no matter how you do it.
Do they have any Optimist clubs, the internet, or do you have to go in person?
Virtual clubs? Yes, we do. You can be part of a virtual club. I mean, to give you a quick example, we just organized earlier this month Optimist Club Belize Diaspora. What it is, it's Optimist Club made up of people from Belize who now live in the United States. And they were formed solely to raise funds here in the U.S. to support the Optimist Club in Belize that we have. And they are a virtual club. They have members in California, New York, Florida, Georgia, and I think Texas. They will meet monthly online to try to raise funds to come up with project ideas to help their compatriots in Central America. You can form a virtual Optimist Club, and I would be happy to tell anybody how to do it.
Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your information. I'm sure it's going to certainly affect some lives in a positive way.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
When we choose optimism, we're not ignoring the hard things, we're choosing to rise above them. As Jim shared, even the smallest acts of service can change lives, including our own. So promise yourself to look for the good, speak with kindness, and lead with hope. The future is still ours to shape.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life, and you'd like to share it with others. Go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you, and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out ZuzuNetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to ZuzuNetwork.com/transcripts.
Watch a video clip of today's episode at www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up. Then click on the Reels tab from the top of the center of the page. Catch up on past episodes and discover currently premiering and upcoming episodes as well, and get helpful links and exclusive clips from our recordings. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up.
Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunell.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joelle.
Managing producer Karina Filatova. A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.